Now, when do you want me to start?
Whenever you are comfortable.
Okay, I'll grab some water. Hello, my name is Kid French. I'm a portrait and landscape painter based in Southern Ireland. My work is done mostly directly from life. Occasionally I will use references, but mostly done directly from life. And yeah, I was classically trained in Italy, and since leaving art school, I've been a professional portrait and landscape painter ever since. I'm speaking to you here from my studio in Kinsale. A lot of kind of work in progress kind of are around me. And yeah, looking forward to chatting.
So you say that you were classically trained. What led you down that route to start with? Obviously, you had to have like a want to go down this route, or you had some kind of inspiration that made you want to do this kind of thing. What led you down that route?
Yeah, I was kind of a quite an introverted kid. Was kind of bookish, and was always kind of interested in drawing from a young age. And then about the age of 11, I kind of found a lot of kind of classical painters kind of really spoke to me. And ever since then, really, I just wanted to paint and draw as much as possible. My mother studied in Florence, and it was always a city that I had a kind of a big interest in. Italian art was a big kind of influence on me anyway. So yeah, at the age of, what age was I now? I think I was left at kind of 17, and yeah, had an amazing time in an amazing city.
Amazing. Did you, like you say, you were influenced by very much Italian art? Is there any particular kind of classical artists that really spoke to you?
A lot of the big names. So obviously like people like Michelangelo and Da Vinci, but then like recently I've gotten a lot of like 19th century painters as well. People like Mancini and Baldini and those kind of painters. But yeah, my original interest was a lot of the big kind of famous names, you know, Titian, etc., Raphael, those kind of painters. Yeah, so that was just a big draw. It's also Italian culture. I've always had a big draw to. It's very kind of visceral, and I kind of like art that is very visceral. Very nice mixture of kind of the intellect and the heart, which I was always very, very, pulled to. Yeah, in relation to other arts, other countries' cultures. I think Italian culture was probably the one that has the strongest influence on me. Yeah.
And it sounds like that still pulls into your work today. So obviously you say you're kind of mainly based in portrait. Is it still something that you really try and lean into, maybe an influence from that Italian style that first drew you there?
Yeah. I mean, you have many books, and whenever you get kind of stuck, you kind of flip open and say, okay, well, how did these amazing painters solve said problems? You know, and yeah, I mean, it wouldn't just be Italian artists, but that was kind of the main reason why I kind of thought of Florence as a good place to go. Obviously, my mother going there as well. And yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like I made the right decision. Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing place.
And then obviously that leads us into a great conversation about your style. You have obviously quite a specific style as to how your paintings look. How did you develop that over time? I'm hoping there's obviously going to be a fair few maybe aspiring or kind of artists who are newer in their journey who are watching this, who are maybe trying to seek out that particular style, that signature look of their own. How did you develop yours?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the term style, I mean, there's a lot of artists that kind of have a conscious idea of what they want to put onto the canvas. I've never really thought like that. I mean, obviously a lot of my paintings you can tell are done by me, done by the same artist, but I attempt not, in some sense, even really to have a style. I kind of attempt to paint kind of organically and allow the moment to kind of almost filter through me. But like, I'm not suggesting I don't have a style, I do, but it's not something that it's kind of at the foremost of my thinking when I'm painting, really. I kind of, each subject I would come to, I would mainly try and just allow it to just kind of, I don't know, energize me creatively, and I would paint. Now, obviously, it's in a kind of a classical tradition. You know, I'm not painting like, you know, Mark Rothko's. I'm not painting kind of Pollock paintings. So it is in a tradition. But I suppose I don't consciously think I'm going to paint this in a particular style. I kind of would be just see kind of nature, kind of a dialogue with nature, and have that to come onto the canvas organically. But
so it's more that the subject is influencing you as to what you want to put down, and then that's really just you putting forward how you want to express that. It's not a, as you say, not a conscious decision to actually lean into a particular style or anything like that.
Yeah, not really. No, I mean, I suppose a good example is when I have a model sitting. In some sense, the model kind of informs the piece as much as me. I mean, I think a good definition of portraiture is two people meeting, and through the conversation you will have with the model and how the light hits the form and so on and so forth, you will, yeah, I mean, you will, both you kind of creating it. Yeah, I mean, I have a sense of what the painting will look like at the end, but it's not like, you know, I'm going to paint in a certain style. No, that wouldn't really be my goal. No.
I love that though, the idea of like that it's two people meeting, like a conversation between two people to create the art. That's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, a good example is, say if you're doing a painting and say the client says, hey, I can only give you like 5 sittings, for instance. Each day that they come, you know, so many things would have happened. Like, you know, maybe, you know, the hair might fall on one day, maybe a conversation sparks a certain emotion in their face on another day. And you're almost kind of getting a mosaic of many moments and trying to find some kind of truth of them in the painting. Yeah, if I ever was not enjoying it, that would be something to like be a red flag. I would be like assessing that, and yeah, I mean I always enjoy it. Yeah, this makes me very, very happy. Yeah, so
I know, I like that. It's a pretty straightforward, I need to be happy doing this, or I might move on, which I think is absolutely the right thing to do. But with that in mind, does that mean that there's any kind of work or maybe a client request or something? Is there anything you would turn down in that kind of realm?
Sure. I mean, there are. Yeah. I mean, I have principles that I won't break. You know, it's not going to look like a photograph. It's going to look like work from nature. There are influence from history on my work, and yeah, there certainly are things I've been asked to do where I've been like, you need to find someone else. That's not for me. But yeah, I mean, there are, you know, I have principles at stake here, and yeah, that there certainly are there's certainly things I wouldn't do. So yeah.
I suppose I have a 2-part question for you here. Is one, how do you work out what you should charge somebody? This is very much information for people.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is, I know obviously you're a professional, but is there still any part of you that feels awkward about discussing money? It's something that I find with a lot of artists, that maybe it's not their favorite thing to do.
I mean, I remember an anecdote. I remember I was first out of art school. I remember I was working with a client. It was a charcoal portrait, and at the end, he handed me some money. I remember it distinctly, and I almost said, "Why are you giving me this?" And because I enjoyed the drawing so much, and then I realized, okay, this is I mean, as you get older, you just get better at figuring out. Like, I'm very clear at the beginning. Everything in writing, and say, hey, this is how much it costs, etc., etc. Leave no ambiguousness in terms of, you know, it's a business, and you know, so everyone knows what's happened, like at every stage of it. That would be so that to avoid any form of kind of arguments, which never really happen, you know, really, if you're clear. And in terms of how you price things, I mean, there's many ways of doing it. I mean, size, how long it takes you. I would argue education as well. But I think you have to really, like, really value yourself as well. I mean, I don't think you should be, you say that, you would have a sense of what you want for it and what is a fair price. I would say that's like, basically just don't be ambiguous, because I think that's what happens when people say, how much, you say, oh, da, da, da. Yeah, I would have like a kind of a price in mind in relation to the size, my education, how long it took me. Yeah, I mean, just a very clear meeting. And in terms of commissioned work, I would probably, if someone says this in a meeting, I really need more specificity. And when people say, do whatever you want, that's a no for me. Because if you want to invest a lot of time in a piece, it can't be that whatever you need a lots of kind of touchstones of what they want and a sense of, and if that takes more than one meeting, but that would be something that would need more further exploration in terms of conversation about what they want there.
We have the rise of AI. People who feel or are uploading things into AI, they're doing AI generative images. And how do you feel at this point, if that's affecting your work or how people view your work, or because of what you do, is it not affecting you at all? Do you just think it's a general thing that's happening?
I mean, I'll answer that in a couple of ways. Because first, it doesn't really bother me at all, because I feel what I do is not really in the remit of AI anyway. And also, I mean, my art is very much done for humans, like from a human consciousness to a human consciousness. So that doesn't really bother me. Like it's not something I really think about. Sorry, what's the second part of your question? I've now forgotten.
Just so that's obviously how it impacts you, and then just generally as a wider thing that's being used.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, I suppose I have a theory that it might actually help, because I think if you got so much kind of like AI slop, basically, and like AI stuff, I'm not calling all of it slop, but like when you have so much of it, that people will probably just yearn for a handmade, human, thing. There are AI bands. I'm big into music, and there are AI bands, and you listen to them, and like after you tell them, I was like, this is quite good, and then after a while you're like, it's not really that, it's kind of, yeah, it kind of loses a lot because it's not really human in that sense. So I think in the long run it might help kind of craftspeople like me, because when you come to me, it's like one of a kind piece from a human. So it doesn't worry me, but then, I mean, maybe other forms of visual art might suffer from it. Maybe some forms of illustration might, I don't know. But for me, it's not something that concerns me almost at all. I don't really think about it at all.
So we're back here with Kit French. He's very kindly invited us back into his studio because we now have dates and information on a brand new exhibition. So we definitely want to talk about that. Kit, can you run us through all the details of the exhibition, what it's about, and what the inspirations were?
Yeah, my new exhibition is called From Memory. It opens on the 9th of July and runs to the 31st in my family's gallery, Gallery 23, here in Kinsale. 30 new pictures, and from my travels over the course of the year. I was living in Tuscany for a little bit, I was living in Kerry for a little bit, and then when I came back, I was working on portraits of friends and people I've met, and also I did some intimate paintings of local pubs here in Kinsale. So the Italian paintings would be largely of like piazzas and places I spent a lot of time in when I was a student. gardens, street scenes in general. The Kerry paintings, I was living just outside Colorgan, and lots of paintings of the hills and the mountains and so on. And back in Kinsale, just lots of intimate paintings of some of the older pubs here in Kinsale. And then, as I say, portraits of friends and people working in the arts. So yeah, that opens, as I say, on the 9th, and looking forward to welcoming everyone to the exhibition.
I'm sure it would be amazing. And then, of course, you're looking forward to welcoming people, but how do you get people to come? What's your promotional strategy? Maybe not the most enticing thing for an artist, but how do you get people here? Word of mouth, social media? What's your plan?
Yeah, I mean, when I left art school, I had this idea that you do the work and somehow then people just know the work is on, and obviously, artists generally have to learn that business side of it when you leave art school, because you obviously go to art school for a different reason necessarily than the business side. You go there to learn your craft and everything. So yeah, each year I've just got a lot better at doing it, and what I generally do is a month before the exhibition, so around like mid or like the 9th of June kind of area, I will not paint that much, and then leading up to July 9th, I will just be, starting kind of a gentle reminders and gentle kind of advertising, and then as it gets closer to the opening night, I will be kind of ramping that up. So yeah, just a lot of emailing and posters and social media, and then I usually do ads and things like that. And again, you just get better at which ads to use, which one are suitable to your work. And each artist has a different way of, how they want to show their work and in what forms are the best way to show the work. So you just get better at it as you go, really.
You mentioned forms of showing your work there. Something that you've got downstairs that we've seen is the catalogue. Is that important to your method, or is that just something that's beneficial to the show?
Yeah, I mean, the catalog is, I think, really nice for people who maybe aren't in a position to purchase an original painting, or they just want some time to peruse the catalog at their leisure to kind of like revisit a painting that they enjoyed in the flesh. So it's really nice for the clients, and it's really nice for me as well to have like a memento of each exhibition. Yeah, so I mean, I find it's a very nice thing to look back on, and sometimes you forget which painting was in which exhibition, and you can flick it over. And each exhibition I have has a kind of a general theme, and yeah, that's also fun to write the lead-in of the catalog, etc. And yeah, it's an interesting exercise.
Nice. And then with the promotion, the catalog, there's an awful lot to do as well as creating the work. Do you have any support? Anybody you can call in, the cavalry, or is it all you?
No, I mean, I have one very good friend who's super helpful, and he's a graphic designer, and he's super helpful at helping me think like how much text is too much text, kind of what colors work with the work. He designs the catalog, and he's super helpful at things like helping me name some of the paintings. Like I generally have a name, but then he suggests kind of tweaks to my ideas for names. So it's just really nice to have another creative person to bounce ideas of, and just to run things past, really. So he's super helpful. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing I would say is kind of remember why you loved doing it as a child. Never really lose that. I think that's super important. And basically just do what you do with honesty and integrity, and everything else I think will largely just follow. And that would be the main takeaway. Just do what you love, really, I'd say.
Perfect. I absolutely love that. That's great.
Okay.
Kid French, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The thing I would say is that in the background I do need death metal. Otherwise this is not going to work.